Okay. Can you hear me? Yes, we're now recording.
Two. So this is Spaceport America Cup rocket review checklist for Team 147, rocketry at Virginia Tech. This is a re-recording, but I'll ask questions and let you answer rather than give you the answers that I already. I'm Bob Schoner. I'm the flyer of record for this team and mentor.
Division Part of the Captain.
I'm Gabe Knowles. I'm Chief Engineer.
And the person recording this is Dawson Schreiber. I am the Vice Captain.
All right, so let's just dig in. I'll start with the nose cone again. Material.
That is Wildman G12 fiberglass filament one. Commercial part.
All right, good. Shoulder length should be at least half a caliber.
So this is the nose cone coupler. It's 4 inches here.
Yep.
Which is more than half.
Okay. So how is that coupler attached to the nose cone?
We got 6 removable rivets that go in. We'll see that's kind of a theme throughout the rocket. We use that for all our temporary points of attachment.
Okay.
So that goes in there and is retained for the whole flight with rivets.
All right, and those look like 1/4 inch or so.
Yeah, I think they're.
So the nose cone, well, it contains a payload. We'll talk about that more later, I guess.
Yep.
But how is this recovered? Or is this ejected?
Nope, it stays right there. It doesn't move.
But is the nose cone coupler ejected?
Yeah, so the nose cone and the coupler are ejected from the rocket to allow the main parachute to come out. But these two stay together.
Okay. And the shock cord length for so this is main out here?
Yes, so that main is 30 feet, right here. The main shock cord looks like. And then, yeah, main is attached on here, 30 feet.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what is in the nose cone, the electronics, if they are attached during flight, and the batteries.
Yeah, so what's in the nose cone is the payload, which is right here. It's a 3U CubeSat. Like flight wise, all it's really got that's relevant is GPS or SRF GPS. So we got a transmitter here. On the other side, there is a set of there's a BeagleBone little microcomputer, and then a GPS chip right there. And it's also doing some other data collection for like the payload challenge, but for rocket safety wise, all that we really care about is the GPS. It's a redundant GPS beacon, and transmits there. What else did you want to hear about the
Batteries.
Oh, batteries, yeah. So it's got a big giant 12-cell nickel metal hydride battery that lives in this cube. So this is providing power to this cube. We have flown it. It seems to work pretty well. It's got a pretty long life. I think it's about 3,800 milliamp hours. It's in that range somewhere.
Okay.
So it lasts a while, and it's nice and heavy to help us hit the weight requirement.
All right. That all looks good to me. Let's go to the body tube, material composition.
This is also wildland fiberglass for the main body tube. From about midway down, it's all student wound carbon fiber tubes. So like this one here and this section is all student carbon fiber. Let's see, we got some motor tubes in here as well. They're also student carbon fiber. But basically, from midway up is fiberglass, and from midway down is carbon fiber.
No 3D printed, so this is SRAD carbon fiber filament.
Yes.
Hand laid up, structurally sound. Yes, there are slots in the body tube.
Yeah, there's slots here, but they're backed by a coupler, so it's about twice as thick in this area where there are slots. That's helps reinforce.
Okay. Lengths and wall thickness seems appropriate for what's contained. I'm just gonna say yes, that seems fine. Key number and frequency on the rocket.
We're in the middle of painting it, so that's gonna go on afterwards. But we have stuff decals out there.
Okay, and you have had test launches.
Yeah, so we've done 2. We had a third one planned that essentially ended up in a scrub. We had it on the rail, and it sat on the rail for a couple hours until we decided to take it down. So we did get some like kind of qualitative like battery rundown information from that, and we also saw some issues to fix from that third one. But the first 2 were successful. They were kind of stepping up in complexity from pretty much bare bones flight the first time, and then adding some more active systems like the drag system here. But on the second one and testing that, and then the third one was supposed to be a full competition load, but it got screwed. So we do have good flight information. Most of this stuff out here you've seen has flown twice, but it was all pretty successful except for the third one.
Okay. Talk about couplers, material composition.
So couplers are all Wildman fiberglass. Yet again, for this one is the electronics bay coupler, and it is the airframe, the major airframe coupler in the middle of the rocket. So it has 1.5 calibers of intrusion into each airframe. It used to be a spaceport requirement earlier in the year, but then it got changed. But we just kept it. Same thing for the nose cone. You can see for like this end is what gets retained into the nose cone, but into the body tube is a caliber and a half. So that's the same. They're all fiberglass couplers. Back here is the only thing that gets a little bit funky, just by comparison. Right here, this is what gets restrained in the drogue body tube, which is this guy here. You see this coupler here is 1 caliber, but all the way up to here is this is part of what helps keep this in the rocket. So I like to think of it, I think there's a coupler that's about this long, because I think you can count this this assembly here as being part of what is actively, holding those 2 panels together.
Plate up here.
Yeah, there's a bulk plate that goes up on top here, or left, but it goes here, and this kind of gets like clamped down around the coupler that's epoxied in here that I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
So it's all pretty hard restrained all the way up through this assembly.
All right, so looks structurally sound, the wall thickness looks good, shoulder length is fine. How is that attached? How is the coupler attached?
Again, it's rivets, 6 rivets here.
Okay,
And same thing with the upper half of the eBay.
and In the couplers, I guess, let's see. So how are electronics mounted or secured? Are all batteries detagged? No lipos.
Yeah, no lipos. Everything is either nickel metal hydride or lithium ion, 18650s. So we can look at the eBay and look at the washer. This is all of the recovery electronics. So we got 2 altimeters and a commercial GPS. This is our primary GPS. The batteries that we use are these 18650 Lion packs that we make. The shrink wrap is a little rough on this one, but it's one of our backups. We 3D print this whole structure, and we make these little battery mounts. So these modules go in like that, and we'll get screwed down and closed up like that. And then you can kind of see they get restrained on the inside there. So this piece represents what is on the inside of this core here. And that gets restrained with these little brackets like so. You can kind of see what's going on here. It's a different color, but same thing. And this is, this has not flown yet. It's a new iteration off of an older design that's very similar. So this is improved based off of that. So we expect it to be should be fine.
Electronics are the same as what's flown?
Yeah, these electronics, the actual onboard electronics have flown a couple times.
Okay,
And so those have been tested.
all right.
And we have flown the battery chemistry, which is an important distinction. So the type of battery has been flight tested, and we know it's good to light charges off. So
All right. Let's see. I guess let's talk about payload a little bit. Material composition of the payload.
So this is all the white stuff is PLA 3D print. It kind of slides and rests on a big metal frame and chassis. They're super thick threaded rods that run the length. And then there's aluminum plates here at the end caps. You can kind of see this is like there's some black 3D print on the ends. Those aren't really doing any structural load bearing. It's all just the aluminum backing plates. The end caps are there to more fill out the form factor and keep it a box. And it gets retained with these little threaded rods on either end. They're not really considered part of the payload, so they'll get removed for weigh-in and such, but they do intrude through to mount everything together.
It definitely looks like that's not going to go anywhere. Let's see. And is the payload deployed or is it remain attached?
It remains attached to the rocket, so.
Okay. Let's see. Electronic altimeters.
Yeah, we can go over those. Yeah, so we mentioned these a little bit.
This has no altimeters, just GPS.
No altimeter. Well, it'll be measuring some altitude and information, but it's not really related to the flight. It's not recovery. Yeah, it's just data logging.
Okay.
This in here, these are what control our pyro charges. So we have a featherweight Raven here and a Easy Mini down here. Featherweight is running primary deployment duties, and this is doing backup.
Okay.
They've been flight tested and work pretty well. We did have to replace the Raven ones. We had a funky battery issue with our old chemistry, but that has been it's been fixed.
Okay.
The new batteries. So
and you have all your connections labeled.
yeah, everything's got a little label on it. I can show you how the switches work. So we've got these MissleWorks screw switches. These are pretty popular to be used. We like to use them. They get mounted. They're not screwed in right here because we've been painting it. We don't want to paint our switches. But you can see how this will get mounted up from the inside and is visible right at the outside of the tube, and it's flush so that we don't have to dig a screw in and try and find our screw switch. It'll be right flush, poking out to the outside world. And then this little pigtail extends through the bottom, and we can, when we slide everything together, we can connect it. It's like if I want to connect find a switch pigtail from some.
I think that's okay, really, for this purpose.
Yeah, that's how that works.
All right, just the request is to have your team number and frequency on the payload section. Or on the payload.
Yeah. I think payload needs it, and then I think we need to put it on the rocket itself as well.
Mhm.
All four things in the rocket. I'm not sure about the frequency. I think it's just the P number, but I think I've done the frequency that on for our first transfer.
Okay. It just says on payload, so you're not transmitting anything.
We're transmitting on the payload.
Okay,
We can put it in a couple places just to be safe.
Yeah.
all right. So that's payload, that's good. Let's go to recovery.
You want to talk about parachutes and software?
Yes, length and materials.
So over here, we've got our main parachutes. Main parachute is a Sky Angle, Cert 3 single XL. Drogue is a Recon, I think it's a Wildman parachutes. This line, it's 30-inch. This slows it down to 82 feet per second. This will slow it down to 17 for ground hit. We protect the parachutes with these 18-inch Kevlar blankets. You see this one's been tested. These work fine, just like Nomex. It's pretty hard to burn Kevlar. So we've been flying these work great. We also use dog barf also after, in addition to this, as some extra shock cord protection. These will go around the parachutes. Like you mentioned, shock cord, this is 30-foot length for main, and then the drogue is a nice long 60-foot length. That's about 5 times the length of the rocket. That's the rule of thumb that we go by. Points of connection are all bowline knots with quick links.
Okay.
We've got swivels on the parachutes to keep from tangling. They come with, so definitely.
Drogue, I guess, comes out of Apogee.
Yeah, drogue is at Apogee. We've got a couple backups for it off those altimeters. We've got primary is obviously at Apogee. We got backup at Apogee +1, and then we have a tertiary charge that will go off if the descent rate is going too fast, and that's off of the Raven. That's going to be a bigger charge as well. Main comes out at 900 feet. I think the spaceport cap is 1,000, so we're just taking it down 500 feet. For 900 as our primary, and then backup is happening at 800 for the main.
Let's see, I know you have tested deployment with shear pins. What are the shear pins that are retaining?
So we've got so main comes out of this bay, we have 8 up here, 8 number 4 shear pins up here. And then drogue comes out here at Apogee, and that's got 4. The reason for so many in the nose is that we have a big heavy payload up here. And since it has to stay on after the first ejection event, we want to make sure that we're not having any inertia, some problems with the nose coming off and having hurricane. So that's why so many up there. We've only got 4 down here. It's a more reasonable number. But these have all been flight tested, ground tested several times, and we haven't had an issue.
Okay. You have your manholes.
Yeah, they're plugged up with but they're nice and clean, so we don't have any airflow. These will not. These will be closed. Those are switch holes, so those don't count as vent holes.
I think all that is good. No tender descenders. Deployment is using what intake? Black powder.
Black powder, yep. Not CO2.
And these have been ground tested.
Yes, everything's been ground tested a couple of times.
Okay. Let's see, that's good. Let's talk about the motor.
So motor we're flying on for Spaceport is an M2500. It's a Blue Thunder Aerotech motor. Picked it because it gets it off the rail the fastest, essentially, and it also gives us headroom for the altitude target that gets retained in here. Retention is just like a Home Depot 3/8" bolt that goes through this bulkhead here into the motor tube. So this is the motor tube. The motor comes up to hereabouts, and then we have a little bolt that just screws in. That will go on before this assembly here. So motor will go in, we'll retain it, then this will slide on. We can continue with assembly from there. That's the reason that we do that is because we don't have space back here because of the boat tail for a retainer. So we have to do forward retention.
Okay. And the motor you have for your competition, you have on hand?
Yep, it's over there in the box.
Okay. And I'm just going through this list, making sure I cover everything here. Propulsion section fin can. Material is.
It's all carbon fiber,
Right,
except for this one fiberglass.
okay. And that's SRAD, you did that.
Yes, yeah, it's all SRAD, student done carbon fiber,
Okay.
motor tube on the inside as well.
Can you talk about the fin material?
Fin material is a carbon fiber lamp, so we have, we do a sandwich of one layer of carbon fiber, Nomex honeycomb on the inside, and then another layer. Then we 3D print these fin tip profiles, those get tacked on, and then we do another layer of carbon fiber vacuum bag on top to close everything in and stiffen it. So these are pretty stiff fins. We do analysis on them to make sure they're not going to flutter. And they're through the wall construction, so they get attached very firmly to the motor tube with another layup that goes about an inch up the root of each fin. And then we cut the slots, obviously, in the body tube and the boat tail, and that goes around. And then there's an epoxy fillet on top here to hold everything together.
Okay. That seems pretty solid to me. Motor tube material.
Carbon fiber, yeah, that's right, carbon fiber.
Okay. Centering ring material.
Also, that's right, carbon fiber. We make plates out of cut off material, and then we water jet out rings. So you can kind of see here, these are 2 rings stacked on a bulkhead down up here for a lot of thickness.
Okay.
There's a couple rings in the actual fin can structure as well.
Let's see. Okay, motor retention is SRAD, and have that. Rail buttons, quantity and manufacturer.
We get those Apogee airfoil ones. There's actually 3. There's 2 down here. So one's gonna sit right about here. If the hole is visible.
It's under
It's on
here?
it's on the bottom side, but it goes.
Okay.
You know, one's here and then one's gonna be up here. And then we have a third one that is up in the drogue. It's this hole here. So it's up there, and that's retained with like a T nut, so that it's flush on the inside. We don't have anything snagging. So that's slightly different. These are well nuts on the bottom too.
Your off the rail velocity was what?
103 feet per second.
Okay.
So pretty fast.
Let's see. Boat tail, I don't know if I already asked you material for that.
That is carbon fiber as well.
Okay. Anything else that you want to point out to me?
Not that I can think of. I think we pretty much hit everything. We do have a set of drag brakes here. I don't know if these have been mentioned. These are how we kind of do our apogee control for the competition. So they're a set of carbon fiber. These are carbon fiber as well. And they get actuated servo. They go up and down like this. They're restricted to 20 degrees of extension.
When do they get deployed?
They don't get deployed until after burnout. This was something that we flight tested in the second test flight. There's a couple software checks that happen, things that need to be true for it to be able to deploy. So it needs to have the burn timer needs to have elapsed, and it needs to have sensed a deceleration of the rocket for it to allow the flaps to deploy. So we did test that. That seems to be working at this time. And then it just has an algorithm that runs and will kind of dynamically control these drag brakes as it coasts. So it's just the coast phase. At apogee, they'll retract to prevent damage, and then everything will deploy and parachute with them.
Okay. So I would say the team is ready to attend the Cup. You have the rocket. Members who attended the video review, mentor, flyer of record, and key team members. And I think this rocket looks really good, ready to go. I wish you luck. I know there's just a few little cosmetic things like CP, CG, and frequency and team number be attached, but otherwise, I think this is good to go.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.